Okay, Yayoi Kusama covered everything in dots and wasn't sorry. Written by Fausto Gilberti, and looks like Fausto did the illustrations as well. I've never read this book. It's just arrived in the post. And since I'm wearing my pink wig, I thought I'd read it. Oh look, it's me. My name is Yayoi. I am an artist and I'd like to tell you my story. I was born in Matsumoto, a historic city in Japan with a beautiful castle. I've always loved drawing more than anything else in the world. When I was a little girl, I carried a sketchbook with me wherever I went. I drew everything I saw. I would sit in the meadows between the flowers and plants and see things around me that other people didn't. I rushed to draw them in my sketchbook before they disappeared. I used to dream of becoming a famous artist. I longed to fly away to other countries where artists were doing exciting new things. So when I grew up, I decided to leave Japan. My mother didn't want me to go, but I was determined to make my dream come true. I got on a plane and flew to America. I arrived with a suitcase full of drawings and some money I had hidden in my shoes, but the money soon ran out. With nothing left to buy food, I went to the market to pick up scraps. I would find fish heads and cabbage leaves that had been thrown away, which I used to make soup. At least it was something. I lived on my own in an apartment where I painted day and night. I painted hundreds and hundreds of dots onto large canvases. The dots often came off the pictures and ended up on my dress, table and walls, but I wasn't sorry. Each dot was a part of thousands of others. They made me feel like I was a single dot that was part of our infinite universe. I was making lots of paintings, but I was poor and alone. One day, an elegant lady came knocking on my door. Her name was Georgia O'Keeffe. She's another famous artist. And she was a famous American painter. I had written her a letter asking for her advice on how to become a successful artist. She wanted to know how I was and offered to help me sell my artwork. She introduced me to her art dealer, who immediately bought one of my paintings. Wow! I continued to paint a lot of pictures, and soon I was ready to put on my first solo exhibition in New York City, and it was a success. I had more and more exhibitions and more ideas for new works. I made soft cushioned shapes, which I used to fill rooms, boats and shoes, and cover couches, armchairs and hats. I covered bags and dresses with dried pasta and filled rooms with glittering balls and lights. I created mirrored rooms which reflected everything over and over again. I also organised performances that I called happenings, where I covered people's bodies with dots. It was a pretty daring thing to do at the time. My art was starting to get noticed and written about in the newspapers, so I decided to try to change the world for the better. I organised a happening on the streets of New York to protest against the war in Vietnam. I covered lots of men and women in dots, and they handed me out leaflets with messages of freedom and peace. But it didn't last long because the police came and arrested me. No war, love and peace. No war, peace. As soon as I was released, I started working even harder than before. I held other happenings. I made films, I published a newspaper, and I created unusual party dresses. Some had big holes cut out of them, and others were made for two people to wear together. That sounds like a great idea for a party. We could do that with you, get a giant t-shirt.
I can see your tummy. I can see your back.
I'm going to get a giant t-shirt and put it on YouTube. I even made a huge dress that could be worn by as many as 25 people at the same time. I want to go that way. No, I want to go that way. They'll all have to go together, wouldn't they? Left a bit, right a bit. I need the toilet. Oh no. I loved creating all of this new experimental art, but there came a time when I had to stop because I became unwell. I left New York and went back to Japan to get better. Back at home, I saw the beautiful mountains and the cherry trees in bloom, but a lot of things had changed since I left. The meadows and streams that used to inspire me to draw had been built over, and the cities were filled with smog. This made me sad. Then one day it snowed. The snow covered everything and transformed the landscape, turning it into something pure and beautiful, just how I remembered it from when I was a little girl. Oh, I'm seeing those dots again. Circles. I found a studio near the hospital I was staying in and started working. Creating art made me feel better. I also began writing. I would paint during the day and write at night. Although I miss New York, I decided to stay in Japan. It's where I still live today, and I still work non-stop, making paintings, writing books, and designing clothes and other objects. And the other thing I love to make is pumpkins. I've always loved pumpkins with their beautiful shape and sweetness, and I want to show all the love I feel for them through my art. I also like to cover them in, you guessed it, dots. You won't believe it, but I picked up a pumpkin when I was a child and it talked to me. My artworks have become really famous, and you can now see them in many different art galleries and museums around the world. My dream has come true. And there's a little pumpkin saying, "You did it." Because she thinks pumpkins speak to her. And there she is. One of the
page.
Well, that's the end. And this is just a bit of about her. Oh, look, there's the pumpkins.
Wow.
Amazing. One of the world's most... Wait a minute. Yayoi Kusama is one of the world's most celebrated living artists. And there she is. It says, this art installation is called All the Eternal Love I Have for the Pumpkins. It is made with acrylic pumpkins, LED lights, black glass, mirrors, wood and metal. The room was first created in 2016. There you go. Look, mirrored ceilings. It looks like it's just going on forever again. That infinity art, infinity pumpkins. Hey, she's good fun, isn't she, Yayoi Kusama?
Yeah. Yeah.